It was a story the 7 investigators first revealed. A family, including 2 small children, found living outside in a tent.
Just horrific. A local sheriff said he turned to Children's Protective Services to get them some help, but was turned down.
Now a top state official is facing withering questions from lawmakers wanting to know why CPS did not do more. Here's 7 investigator Ross Jones.
When I look at a $34 billion budget and I show those photos to any citizen in the state of Michigan, and I said to them, the Child Protective Services visited this dwelling and deemed it to meet the standards of safety, they would say I'm crazy.
At a heated House oversight hearing in Lansing Tuesday, the head of the department overseeing Children's Protective Services faced questions over how the state responded to a family found living in squalor in Monroe County.
It is not the role of the department to tell families how they should live.
No, the role of the department is to protect children,
Yes.
which frankly is not being done right there. We write tickets to people who let their dogs live in that condition in the wintertime.
Director Elizabeth Hertel defended the response of CPS investigators, alerted multiple times to a family, including 2 young children, found living in a tent. Inside was food, a space heater, and a mattress on the ground. The only bathroom available was in the home next door.
Is the young one sick or anything?
Yeah, they both got a cough. She just took him to urgent care yesterday.
It was obvious the living conditions were challenging, and the children definitely appeared to be unbathed.
Deputies encountered the family 3 times over 18 months, including in the winter. The final time, they were living in a car. One of the children had severe head lice, deputies said, and hadn't bathed in months. Monroe County Sheriff Troy Goodenough said his deputies didn't want to separate the children from their parents, but did want Children's Protective Services to help put the family in a better place.
My job is to implement the law, not make choices for other parents.
But Director Elizabeth Hertel said CPS investigators did not find that the living conditions constituted neglect, and that the law, as written today, prevented them from doing more.
So while the children and the family may not have been subject to neglect, the children's welfare was fine. They had access to food and water. We know that nobody wants to be living in a tent, probably.
Lawmakers from both parties weren't having it.
Do you feel that it's acceptable for your children to live in those living conditions? It's a yes or no question.
My children, these are not my children.
Do you really believe it's acceptable for our kids to grow up in the state in tents and squalor while soiled and having lice in their hair?
No, I don't think it's okay, which is why we have taken the steps proactively to pair up staff that we have internal to the department with child welfare.
Hertel said that while caseworkers can only investigate potential abuse or neglect, her department is working to do more by pairing CPS caseworkers with eligibility specialists. They can connect families with resources like temporary housing, help with finding food or a job, and follow a family going forward. In this case, Hertel said the family did spend time living in a shelter temporarily, but they would eventually be back on the street, found earlier this year living in their car.
So we were not aware that the shelter placement didn't work out. And the reason for that is that we didn't have an ongoing case with the family.
Who made the determination that it shouldn't be opened as an eligibility case?
There was no eligibility specialist there.
And there was no eligibility specialist, Hertel said, in all of Monroe County. That's because not every county in Michigan has them yet, making it easier for families like this one to fall through the cracks. But it is a horrific story, a horrific life for them to be living, and you just hope that there are not more cases like this, but you fear there are.
Well, I mean, the thing that I remember from your first story is that you said the lice was falling out of the little girl's head. I don't know what more could be more horrific for a child.
And these deputies who have seen a lot, they were shaken by what they saw. So you can only imagine how difficult it must have been for them.
Hard to believe the director describing them as being fine.
I was surprised by that too.
And I didn't hear a yes or no answer about her own children other than, those aren't my children.
Yeah, it was a heated hearing, no doubt.
So we'll have to see what happens going forward.
Of course.
Ross, always great work.